And then as you near publication, sort of at this point famously, there's a frustration by the government that when they learn what you're about to report about revealing the locations.
When I was finished writing the story, I didn't want to do it as a draft because I didn't want to be overly influenced by them. When I was finished basically writing the story, and I knew all the facts that I wanted to have in this story, and I did it, with an editor. Then I called up the public affairs office, and I didn't read them the story, but I went through all the important facts. We're going to say this, we're going to say this, we want to say this, we've learned that. And the person on the other end is scribbling furiously, and at the end of the conversation says, okay, because we both know what we're doing.
Right.
I'll get back to you. So, and I know that that's how it works, and I'm not going to say on a story like that, we're going to put it in the paper tonight, so hurry up. I'm going to say, okay,
right.
Go as quickly as you can, and I'd like to hear back. So that happened pretty quickly. Then the call came back, we really have a lot of problem with a lot of this, so can we come in and talk, or can you come in and talk? And so anyway, we had several talks like that, in which the government expressed its great concern about disclosing the relationship between our country's CIA and their country and country X's. They didn't like the fact that we're writing about the secret prisons, but the good government people know what they try to pare back their request not to publish to the essentials, and most of them know that they're not going to get away with don't disclose the whole thing. But the bottom line was, can we ask you not to disclose the locations? And so all these conversations were taken back, and they happened with various people here at the paper and myself up until the end. And we would take them back and discuss them with Len Downey, who's the executive editor and the person that makes the final call. And we would talk, and I would, play the devil's advocate for as much as I could, arguing for full disclosure. What could we live with? What could I live with? Short of that, knowing that it's not my decision, but wanting to argue for the most, possible. I felt in those meetings, it was my job to argue for the most. Even though I came to agree with Len's decision not to name the countries. I think in the very beginning, I didn't. It's just he works so hard at something, and I was working very hard to figure out the specifics, because the government up to that point, when I'd written other stories about secret locations, they just never said a word. They didn't have to justify it. They didn't have to acknowledge it. They didn't have to do anything. And it just seemed to me that if you've got something this big that is potentially so against a lot of our fundamental principles, you shouldn't just not be able to say anything. You should be in the position at some point to justify what you're doing, or to explain the safeguards, or to explain the legal rationale, or whatever. But they kept being able to just ignore it, so that's why I wanted to get specific, so that they couldn't tell other reporters this was not a good story, don't follow it, or whatever they do.